Ever get that feeling like there's got to be something more to life, more than just going through the motions? That's what we're diving into today. We've got some seriously thought-provoking material here, stories that'll make you pause and really consider, ideas that challenge our usual ideas about success, all pointing us toward building a life that really means something.
Yeah, you hit the nail on the head with that feeling of something more. I think a lot of us feel that underlying tension. We're always doing, always striving, but sometimes that deep sense of fulfillment, it's still kind of out of reach. The stuff we've been looking at really makes you ask, are we even looking at the right things when we think about a successful life?
Yeah.
Maybe we're so focused on just the money part that we're missing a whole bunch of other stuff that's just as important, maybe even more so.
Yeah, and it often takes something to jolt us out of that autopilot, right? One of the pieces we were looking at, there was this story about an author talking with a friend. The friend just casually asks, how often do you see your parents? And the author says, oh, maybe once a year. And the friend does this back of the napkin calculation and says, well, if they're around 65 and live to the average of 80, that's maybe only 15 more visits. 15!
Wow. Just 15. That really hits home, doesn't it?
Yeah.
I think it's because it forces us to face something we often try to avoid thinking about too much, right? Time, it's not infinite, especially when it comes to the people we love. It's so easy to just assume there'll always be another chance, another opportunity. But when you put a concrete number on it, yeah, that creates a real sense of urgency. If we bring this closer to home, think about the people you care about most. How many more of those really special moments do you actually have?
It definitely makes you stop and evaluate things. And it's not just family, is it? This idea of windows of opportunity with anyone important in our lives. That's so true. There are these times when people are really present in our lives, and if we don't nurture those connections, those windows, they can close a lot quicker than we realize. One of the sources even mentioned Tim Urban's The Tail End, that piece. It just brilliantly shows how what we think is a lot of time left with someone can actually shrink down to a pretty small number of real quality moments.
That's so true. And that leads to a really important point about how we see time in today's world. We're constantly bombarded with stuff, work, social media, notifications all the time. And we feel busy, incredibly busy. But are we really in charge of our time?
Yeah.
There's this great analogy from Through the Looking Glass, the Red Queen. She says, now here you see it takes all the running you can do to keep in the same place. It really resonates, right? Many of us, we're running faster and faster, but not really getting anywhere when it comes to what truly matters.
Yeah. We're stuck on this treadmill of busyness. Our attention's pulled in a million directions, and we end up feeling like we're always short on time, even if we might actually have more years ahead than previous generations. It comes down to the quality of time, not just the quantity.
Absolutely. And that's where Kairos time comes into play. It's different from Chronos, which is like the clock ticking away. Kairos is about those moments that really matter, those moments where when we put in the effort, we get so much back in meaning and connection and personal growth. Learning to spot those moments, those Kairos moments, and choosing to focus on them. That's how we get off that crazy treadmill that the Red Queen's got us on and start living a life that really feels right.
So we're starting to see that time. It's precious, it's limited, but our sources are also saying that maybe, just maybe, our definition of wealth needs an upgrade. It's not just about how much money we have, right? There's a whole lot more to what makes a life truly wealthy and fulfilling.
You got it. The argument is that if we're only focused on money, we might win some small battles along the way, hit those financial goals, but we could end up losing the whole war, the war for a meaningful life. The sources present this really cool framework. They talk about 5 types of wealth: financial, time, social, mental, and physical.
Right, let's break those down a bit. So financial wealth, yeah, it's important, but they're suggesting it's more of a tool, right? Like something that helps us achieve the other kinds of wealth. It's not the be-all and end-all by itself.
That's it.
Yeah.
Think of it as giving you security, options. But without the other forms of wealth, it can feel kind of hollow. Then there's time wealth, which is about having the freedom to choose what you do with your days, making sure your time lines up with what you value, who you care about. It's about feeling like you're in control of your schedule, being thoughtful about how you use your most precious resource.
And then there's social wealth, which is all about the connections we have, right? Those relationships that give us love, support, those shared experiences that make life so much richer. It's about having people you can truly rely on.
Yeah, it adds depth and texture to our lives. I mean, what's the point of having tons of time and money if you've got no one to share it with, really share it with? Then we have mental wealth, which is about purpose, having a growth mindset, and making space for reflection, for finding that inner clarity.
And last but definitely not least, physical wealth. That's our health, our energy, our overall well being. It's the foundation, right? It gives us the power to really engage with life, go after what matters to us.
And the key takeaway is that these five types of wealth, they're all connected, they all matter throughout our lives. It's not about focusing on just one and ignoring the others. It's about finding a balance that works for you and what you value most at any given moment. It's like this. Financial wealth might be the fuel, but time wealth is the map, social wealth is the compass, mental wealth is your inner guide on that journey, and physical wealth, that's the vehicle itself. If you neglect any one of these, it'll be much harder to get where you're trying to go to reach that destination of a fulfilling life.
So, how do we actually start building these other kinds of wealth, the less tangible ones, but the ones that are arguably even more important, especially time wealth and mental wealth, since they seem so essential for a purposeful life?
The sources we've been looking at, they give us some pretty practical advice. With time wealth, they talk about three main things: awareness, attention, and control. Awareness starts with really getting on a gut level how limited our time actually is. Like that calculation we talked about earlier, pretty powerful, right? Taking the time to really think about how many moments we might have left with the people we love, that can be a real wake-up call. It can make us shift our priorities.
Yeah, it definitely puts things in perspective. So, what about those other aspects of time wealth, attention, and control?
Okay, so attention is all about focusing on what truly matters to us. Instead of getting swept away by all the distractions that are constantly vying for our attention, one helpful thing to try is to categorize your activities: those that give you energy, those that are neutral, and those that drain you. Then try to spend more time on the things that energize you, less time on the things that drain you, and figure out ways to delegate or simplify the neutral stuff. That can free up a lot of time and mental space to pursue things that really matter.
That's a great approach, focusing on what gives you energy instead of what takes it away.
And then there's control, right? Control is about taking charge of your time, setting boundaries, and being intentional about how you use that precious resource. This can mean using different strategies. For example, there's Parkinson's law, which basically says that work will expand to fill whatever time you give it. So the idea is to set shorter deadlines for yourself, to force yourself to focus and be more efficient. If you give yourself a whole week to do something that can be done in a day, it'll probably take the whole week. Another strategy is to create what you could call a flow state boot up sequence, a little routine that helps you get into that focus state. It could be like 10 minutes of reading in a quiet place, listening to a specific playlist, whatever helps signal to your brain that it's time to focus. And probably the most important thing is mastering the art of saying no. Being able to politely decline commitments that don't line up with your priorities. This helps you avoid that yes damn effect, where you end up overcommitted and feeling overwhelmed and resentful.
These are some really great actionable strategies. Now let's shift gears a bit and talk about mental wealth. Purpose, growth, and space. Those are the key pillars, right? Purpose, that feels like the big one, the guiding star. It's about connecting to something larger than ourselves.
You're absolutely right. It's fundamental. Some of the sources we've looked at, they talk about the research on blue zones, those areas around the world where people consistently live long and healthy lives.
Yeah.
And they also bring up this Japanese concept called ikigai. It's kind of like that sweet spot where four things overlap: what you love, what you're good at, what the world needs, and what you can be paid for.
Yeah.
And finding your ikigai isn't just about finding that perfect intersection. It's also about experimenting, trying things out in those four areas to figure out what really resonates with you. Even taking small steps can lead to some surprising discoveries and give you a real sense of purpose in your daily life.
It's about finding that thing that really lights you up, but also contributes something valuable to the world around you. And then the second pillar is growth, right?
Exactly. It's all about having a growth mindset, which is the belief that your abilities and intelligence aren't fixed. They can grow and develop through effort and learning. It's the opposite of a fixed mindset, where you believe that your qualities are basically set in stone. So someone with a fixed mindset might think, oh, I'm just not a public speaker. But someone with a growth mindset would say, okay, I'm not great at public speaking yet, but I can learn and get better with practice. A growth mindset helps you see challenges as opportunities for growth and helps you keep going even when things get tough.
That makes perfect sense. It's about believing in your ability to change and improve throughout life. And lastly, we have the pillar of space.
Yes. Space is all about intentionally making time for quiet and reflection in your day-to-day life. It doesn't have to be anything fancy. It could be something as simple as going for a walk in nature without your phone, spending a few minutes meditating or doing some mindfulness exercises, or even just journaling your thoughts and feelings. These moments of space, they help you clear your head, recharge emotionally, and connect with yourself on a deeper level. It's like hitting the reset button for your mind.
It sounds like such an important practice in our busy world. So, we've talked about how important it is to recognize that our time is limited and that we need to broaden our definition of wealth beyond just money. We've dug into time wealth and mental wealth as key ingredients for living a purposeful life, and we've explored some practical ways to build those forms of wealth. It's a great framework, but I imagine for someone listening who's really searching for more purpose and clarity, actually putting these ideas into practice might feel daunting. And that's where a life coach can be so helpful, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely. The things we've been talking about, understanding your purpose, getting a handle on your time, developing a growth mindset, these are all at the core of what life coaching is about. A good life coach can give you that individualized support, help you stay accountable, and offer guidance tailored to your specific situation and challenges as you try to apply these concepts to your life.
And we have a great example of this. Coach Rahul Garg, he's a really well-respected life coach and master NLP practitioner based in India. He specializes in helping people navigate these exact areas. His approach to coaching is all about using techniques that help people discover their purpose, get control of their time, and build that essential growth mindset. All the things we've been unpacking today.
What's really interesting is how the practical tips and strategies we've learned from our sources align perfectly with the kind of work that a life coach like Rahul does with his clients. We've provided the theoretical framework and some general principles, but a coach can help you personalize that framework, identify any limiting beliefs that might be holding you back, and create concrete steps that you can start taking today to move towards a more fulfilling and purposeful life.
So for anyone listening who's feeling that pull towards a life with more meaning, more intention, more joy, working with a life coach could be a powerful way to make that happen. It's about bridging the gap between understanding these concepts intellectually and actually applying them in a way that transforms your life.
That's it. It's about realizing that you don't have to go through this journey alone. A good life coach can be a partner who offers support, insights, and the tools you need to find clarity, get moving, and ultimately create a life that reflects your deepest values and aspirations.
As we wrap up this deep dive, the message we want to leave you with is this: life is a precious gift, and it's not forever. To really live a rich and fulfilling life, we have to look beyond those traditional, often narrow measures of success. It's about actively cultivating all the different kinds of wealth. The wealth of time, the wealth of strong social connections, the wealth of mental clarity and purpose, and the wealth of physical well-being. And all of this is anchored by a strong, clear sense of purpose.
And that brings us to a final question, something really important to think about. When you look at the big picture of your life, are you spending your days in a way that aligns with what truly matters to you? Are you making a conscious effort to use your time in a way that will bring you deep and lasting meaning and connection? Or are you putting it off, waiting for someday in the future to start living with intention and purpose? The thing is, later might not come when or how we expect it to.
That's a profound question. It all boils down to this: how are you exploring your own unique sense of purpose, and how are you using your most valuable resource, your time, right here, right now? If this deep dive has resonated with you, if you feel that nudge to take the next step in your journey toward a more purposeful and meaningful life, we want to give you a concrete opportunity to do just that.
We really encourage you to consider working with Coach Rahul Garg. His expertise in helping people clarify their purpose, develop effective time management strategies, and embrace a growth mindset, all grounded in the principles we've discussed today, can give you the practical tools and support you need to make real and lasting changes in your life.
If you're interested in learning more about his coaching and booking a free introductory session with Coach Rahul Garg, it's easy to get in touch. You can email him at insert email address here or send him a WhatsApp message at insert WhatsApp number here. This is a real chance to take action and invest in your own journey towards a life filled with meaning, purpose, and joy. Don't let this moment pass you by.
Remember, you have the power to create a life that is deeply meaningful and fulfilling. Now is the time to take that step and start building the life you truly want and deserve.